but you know, they're convinced of that. So, but I started to work on that theory, and I got a call late in mid-2015 as I'm writing my book. I got a call from someone who asked for my theory on the theft. Did I say 15 to 2014? That I got the call, and this fellow says, let me tell you why that theft was happening. And I said, okay, fine. He says, do you know Vinnie Ferrara? And I said, I know of him. He was one of the leaders of the two criminal gangs that were warring for control of the Boston Underworld. What had happened in the 80s is that the major underworld family that controlled the Boston crime, the Angelos, had been taken down. And two gangs started shooting at each other to take control of the underworld. And that war lasted from around 84 to in the early 90s. In 1989, 4 months before this theft, the leader of the smaller but more intense gang, a guy named Vinnie Ferrara, got locked up for racketeering. And this guy tells me a story. You can check it out, my friend. First visitor to Vinnie Ferrara, after he got locked up, was his third or fourth in command of the gang, and they said to Vinnie, we're going to lose this war unless we get you out. And the way we're going to get you out, we're going to pull off a theft that the feds will want solved, and we'll solve it for them, but our deal will be to get you out of jail. So I said, Vinnie Ferrara never got out of jail. He said, that's right. He never did because they never tried it. They never tried to do the deal. But that gang did the theft. So I started thinking, and I said, well, who's the guy who came into Vinnie Ferrara and told him about it? His driver, second in command, named Bobby Donati, out of Revere. Donati, that's a familiar name. Sure is. Look at, Miles Connor did a book about his exploits. And one of the chapters on his exploits is the theft up in Maine. And who's Miles's partner on the theft up in Maine that he stole the Wyatt paintings? Is Bobby Donati. So, and not only that he knew art, but he knew he would have gotten an idea from Miles. The feds will do business with him. So, well, this guy told me a pretty credible story, and he was, you know, I refer to him as a source and an intermediary, but he gives me great detail on the conversations between Ferrara and Donati. So I bring that to the feds, and the feds checked it out as much as they could, but they're not convinced. They're not convinced that it is Donati. They're convinced that this guy holds the key to it, and that's Bobby Gentile. Bobby's here, now 80 years old, being led into court. This is the reason why they're convinced he has access to the paintings, or had the paintings. So I never visited. It's like there's a ghost here. Is because Bobby's best friend was Bobby's low lived. And his main line of work was as a paver. He's a big husky man. But he also was open. If there was a criminal, if there was a major drug deal or a major card game going on anywhere in New England, you would bring Bobby to watch over it and cook. He was a great cook. So the bad guys knew him, and the feds knew him. But what they also learned in 2010 was the widow of probably Bobby's best friend called the feds. First she called Bobby and said to him, Bobby, I know there's a $5 million reward for this artwork that was stolen, because she had seen a billboard as she drove up to Maine. She lives up in Madison, Maine. She said, if you don't give me $1,000 to fix the radiator in my car, I'm going to tell the feds that you got the paintings from my husband. He had them, and I'm going to tell the feds that they gave them to you. He gave them to you before he died in 2004. Bobby said, listen, Aline, you and I both know that your husband, I know your husband was interested in this recovery, as I was, and we talked about it all the time because of the $5 million reward. But you also know, this is from his side of the story, that I never got my hands on them. He never had the paintings, and I never got them from him. Well, I'm calls the feds in 2010. Now, this is 20 years after the theft. And she tells them what they, and they go up, they say, well, maybe your husband left him in the house that you owned together. They searched that out, they couldn't find anything. But then, from her account, and what she tells them is, my husband gave them to Bobby. After we had lunch, Bobby brought his wife up to Portland, Maine, and my husband and I went down to Portland and we had lunch. And Bobby Gentile remembers that lunch. She remembers it because she says, at the end of the lunch, her husband and Bobby went out to the parking lot, and the husband opened up the trunk of his car and gave Bobby 2 or 3 of the masterpieces. Presumably, the Vermeer and the 2 Rembrandts. And Bobby put them in his car. Why does she say he passed them on to this guy? Is because at this point, her husband knew he was deathly ill. And he did die of cancer in 2004. Now, Bobby Gentile acknowledges, yes, he did have lunch with his great friend and his great friend's wife, Aline, in Maine. But he doesn't remember because they got any paintings. He said, I remember because Aline ordered twin lobsters for lunch, and I'm paying. So he says, I remember exactly. He said, I was fuming. Always I get to pay. So, but he says, I never got the paintings. Well, the feds were convinced that he did have it, so they set him up in they sent an undercover agent in, and the undercover agent, informant, at this point it's an informant, the undercover informant gets Bobby to give him some prescription drugs. He asked him for guns and this and that, and Bobby said, no, I don't have that. But, good, if you want drugs, or take these. I got these for my back. Well, you can't give out prescription drugs, that's a federal offense. They bust into Bobby's house, and they arrest him to squeeze him, because they're convinced by what Aline has told them that Bobby has the paintings. So Bobby's in jail in 2012, and they go to his house. This is the backyard of his house in Manchester, Connecticut. And they dig up, this is in the wintertime, but in May of 2012, they dig up the house, the back, they find some guns inside the house. They find a couple of things inside the house that's incriminating towards the theft. They find a list of every piece that was stolen with what it would get on the black market. Another guy admits who's interested in the theft, in the recovery, because all the bad guys know of the reward, and that's all they care about. And they're all sort of bouncing off each other, trying to con each other. And Bobby says, yeah, this other guy made that out. What do I know? There's one of the words has a egu in garage, the garage or egu. And he says, I don't know these signs. So they're convinced it wasn't Bobby who made the list. But it has the list of what the paintings would have gotten on the black market, which only convinces more the feds that Bobby's got the paintings. What's most convincing is that Bobby flunks 2 lie detectors. Have you ever seen this artwork? No. Bing, he's lying. Did you know beforehand? No. Bing, he's lying. So finally he says to them, let me take this up. They come to me. Bobby lied every question you lied to. Bobby knows better than anybody else. Like every other con man, every other criminal. He says, give it to me again. He answers no to every one, except when they show him this little small Rembrandt sketch. He says, I've seen that. Well, they almost came out of the chair, because it's the first time anybody has ever told them that they're convinced has access. Where did you see it? Aline had it, and she had it underneath her bra. So he just wants to get back at her, because she set him up on this. On that one, it says he's telling the truth. So how do you know? He says he's lying, well, everybody's telling the truth. So let's take out I don't believe the lie detector test when it comes to con men, which he is. He's in jail, and they're going through the house, ripping it up, in the backyard digging up, they got backhoes. His son comes home, he's an adult, a man, and he comes home and he says, he sees what the feds are doing, and he says to them, are you crazy? My father, he's a con man, and, you know, maybe he's a petty theft, but he's no thief, but he doesn't have any access to artwork like you're talking about. But if he did, it'd be in the shed. The feds say, what are you talking about, shed? He says, yeah, that shed back there. He hides everything in there. Oh, Jesus, they don't have a search warrant for the shed. They go and perfect the search warrant. They go into the shed, and this is what they find. This is the shed. This is Bobby's shed. Like many of our sheds, like Bobby's shed. But the one thing that's different for Bobby's shed is you've got these very big Rubbermaid up here, here, bins, and the covers are back here. Well, they go through it, and they go back into the kitchen where the son is. They say, we've gone through every step. There's nothing in there. What's the story? And the son says, no, not in the shed, under the shed. What are you talking under the shed? Well, this is a false floor. My father had pulled the regular floor up, and he's got a big ditch under there. And in the ditch, you'll find these bins. And whatever he's hiding is in the bin. So they go back out, they pull up the false floor. Sure enough, two big major bins are down there. They really thought they had something there. They pull it up, the bins are empty. They go back to the son. The bins are empty, there's nothing there. And it comes out, I still cannot believe my father had anything there, but I'll tell you one thing. I've never seen him so upset, hurt, angry as he was 3 or 4 years ago when there was a flood in our backyard. And whatever was in that shed ditch was ruined. And I never asked him about it, but he was upset. So out of that, the feds believe that's where the Rembrandts and the Vermeer wound up. And they got ruined. So they go back to jail, and they say to Bobby, in May of 2012, they got him out of jail, they said, no, Bobby, all your sins are forgiven. $5 million coming your way. Just give us back the canvases. Bobby breaks down, puts his head in his hands, he starts crying. He says, do you think, you know, I would spend all this time in jail? And his daughter, in the interim, she gotten sick, and she ultimately died. They wouldn't let her out. They wouldn't let him out to see her on her deathbed. He says, you guys are tough. I would give in. I'd give you this stuff. I don't have it. I never had it. I don't have it. So I can't give it to you. And they leave. And he gets out of jail in January 2014. And I had seen him in court one time, and I gave him a thumbs up. And he had seen and asked, who's this guy with the gray hair back there? And he said, his lawyer said, oh, it's Kurkjian from the Globe. He knows a lot about the Gardner case. And he wants to talk to you. So he said, well, I'll talk to him when I get out of jail. So January 2014, which is when I took this, January, February, when I took this photograph, I went and visited him and talked to him for over 3 days' time, 5 hours of taped interview. And he was good. It's a great chapter in the book, Rembrandts in the Shed. And question. And so but he continues to deny. But it tells me about the lie detector, tells me about his relationship with the fellow in Maine who had cancer, you know, how crazy Aline is. And it's all on the record because he knows I'm a reporter. He's been told by his lawyers he's a reporter, hard-driven. And it's, all of it's great material. And after as the third day ends, the only thing he asked was to bring Regina's pizza. Anybody here from Boston knows Regina's was a great pizza. And he's, again, Bobby the cook, Gentile. And I brought the pizzas, a stack of pizzas. So as we go to the walking, and his legs are just, you know, impaired from his lifetime of working on his knees, and he's got these GPS, parolee now, piece of equipment on his leg. He walks very slowly, and he's just walking, and I'm trying to get out of there because it's getting late. And he says to me, let me ask you something. shut off your tape recorder. So, I look up, I said, sure. So I shut off my tape recorder, and he says to me, what do I get out of this? What does he get out of this? So now, the reason why this was strange to me is because his lawyer had debriefed him. You know, he's not going to give you any money, but the more detail you give the reporter, the better the chapter will be, and then the public will see that you've been framed by the feds. There's bad and good in that chapter about Bobby. There's, you know, still a question in my mind about whether he has access to the stuff. But now he's saying to me, what does he get out of it? He's looking for money. The lawyer has already told him I don't have any money for him. So, but right away I start thinking, why is he raising this when he should know? He's been told by them. And I'm thinking, all of a sudden I think, he's trying to open up a conversation with me, but he doesn't want to use the words. What I'm just speculating on, posing the possibility. He's saying to me, if I tell you a secret, do I get money? Now I can't give money for information, but I respond this way. But what if I do this? What if I give my publisher, you know, for the book, back his deposit? You know, they give some money. It was okay. I'll give them back the money. I'll start a brand new book. You and I, Bobby, will do the book. But I don't want any no more of this BS denials. I want the secret. What happened? When did you get the paintings? What happened to the paintings? Where are they now? I want the whole thing. And then you and I will do the book. Your name will be on it. My name will be on it. You get the proceeds. I get the proceeds. You get the proceeds. This is a bestseller. This is the art of the ages and the greatest untold story. We're going to tell it. And I'm thinking to myself as I'm saying this, you know, what am I doing? You know, I've worked as a reporter, you know, 40 plus years, and I'm talking like totally fiction, right? Something out of Dan Brown, or this is ridiculous. And they sound ridiculous as I'm saying it, but I don't want to lose the opportunity. In the back of my mind, what I'm thinking is, he can't say that to me. I've got a secret, because he doesn't trust me. So I'll say the words. And also I'll keep my petticoats clean by saying, I'm not going to pay you. We'll do a book together, and that's how you get your money. And it would be a bestseller. I'm thinking he's going to say, F you talking about. But he doesn't. He puts his head down. Like this. Puts his head down. Now, I am totally at bay. I don't know. Am I living in a world of total fantasy here? This guy is thinking about what I've told him, and I want the secret of the ages. I don't know what to say to him. I said, I think I told, he understands. He's got his head down. All I can do is go, 1 Mississippi. 3 Mississippi. I think I got to about 4 Mississippi. It wasn't 10, it was 4 or 5. He puts his head up. The minute he looked at me, I could tell. It was no. What do you do? No. I told you the truth. They set me up. I fell for it. Yes, I'm a con artist, but I fell for their scam. And now the rest of my life is going to be saddled with this. So I said, Bobby, you know, great chapter. Thank you very much. If you need, I'll call you if I need anything more. Fine. I leave. I go out to the car. Before I even start the car, I'm calling his lawyer. Ryan, your guy, he's been lying to you. He's been lying to the feds, and he lied for me for 5 hours. He knows the secret, Brian, and you haven't been able to get it out of him. The lawyer's good. He says, what are you talking about? Knows the secret. What happened? Why are you saying this? What did he say to you? And I tell him the story about, you know, we're going to do a book together, but I want the secret. You got to tell me. And he puts his head down. And he was about to tell me. We're about to do a deal. And Ryan says, how long did he put his head down? I said, well, it was like at least 5 seconds. He says, Steve, in those 5 seconds, all he's thinking of is, can I scam $10,000 out of Kurkjian? Because you would have fallen for it. He would have put his head up and say, yes, I'll do the book. but I just need some money to get me started. So $10,000 will get me started. And he would have been scamming you. And I said, you think that's what he was thinking of. He doesn't have any secrets in him. Now again, this is his criminal defense lawyer. His job is to keep him out of jail. The next month after I leave, as we now learn, another undercover team comes in. Bobby, we got a drug deal. You want in? The big guys don't want you in, Bobby. Bobby says to him, yeah, I want in. If you let me in, tell the big guys I'll sell them 2 paintings for $500,000. So, you know, is he real? Is he memories? It's why this story is fascinating, and it's why it's frustrating. So he's the Fed's best possibility. My best possibility is Vinnie Ferrara and his gang. But Bobby's gang ultimately was at war with Vinnie's gang. So that's where we get the title of Boston Gangsters, who pulled off. It's one of these 2 gangs. But my fear is we're never going to find the way the investigation is now, the log jam over it. It's not going to be an investigative coup that solves this crime. And I thought about this as I finished the book, because the book is good about new stuff and different characters. But I said, you know, if you're going to achieve the purpose that you started with, you got to get a eureka. You got to find a way of getting this solved. And I started to think of other thefts that have been solved where ours hasn't been. And I found one theft of Impressionist paintings that had been stolen out of the Montmartre Museum in Paris in '85, recovered in '91. And I called one of the detectives who worked on the case, and I said, why is my case so, you know, it's gone on for so long. It happened around the same time, 5 years after yours, but still mine keeps going. And he said the major difference between ours is the people, your public and our public. Our public felt that the loss from this museum was a loss from their family treasury. Each Parisian felt personally the loss. I got to tell you, Steve, I know your case, and that's not the way the Boston public feels. You've got a great case. You've got a bigger case than us. Ours was. But your public is not cooperating the way our public in France was cooperating. Patrimony is a big thing in France. What is owned by the government is owned by the individuals. So I started to think about that, and it's true. We got a great case, but it's when the Globe writes about it, it's as a solving the crime of the century. It's not getting back the artwork that should be key for our lives. That something that was put on the wall for us. So I started to work with that idea. Well, that's true. Mrs. Gardner put these paintings on the wall, and these are some of the most exquisite ones, to inspire us, and it worked. So, but why hasn't that pierced the cold hearts of those people who know something? The way, just briefly, my sense is that the 2 guys who did it are dead. The feds say that. The feds' 2 guys are dead, my 2 guys are dead. So, in the way it works in the criminal underworld, in a gang, is that when we're in the same gang and we're against that gang, he and I pull off a score, you guys don't know about it. We don't tell you. Why? Because we really can't trust you, and you're going to be coming for money for us, because we pulled off a big score. So the secret stays between the 2 people or the 3 people who pulled off the score. And with our death, where we hid the paintings, that's lost to the ages. But the other members of the gang know bits and pieces. You know, this is total speculation. My sense is that they know bits and pieces. Most of them are dead. This is a very dangerous world that they're in. And age, we're 26 years now counting. So the few members of the gang who survived, or our families who survived, who may know, yeah, my brother, or my former husband, or my father, was into some stuff, and one time he said something about the paintings. How do we get those people to pick up the phone and give the feds or an investigative reporter the information we need? That was my challenge. That's what I think is the challenge. So, and this is the way I address it, is get in front of those paintings, the artwork, particularly this scene. This is the Dutch room at the Garden Museum. Second floor. It's like walking into being the first person on a wake going in there now. It's so sad. The lights are dimmer. You know, this is where the Vermeer was, and that's where the seascape was, the Rembrandt was. So I would put in front of those, and the FBI has been in front of those paintings, and urge the public to call in and tell us what you know about this theft, where they might be. I wouldn't put the FBI, and I wouldn't even put the museum in front of them. But I would put in front of them people who have cachet, credibility in the bad guy world. Not bad guys, but just people, hard workers who have biographies of recovery and redemption. One is, to me, Cardinal O'Malley. Sean O'Malley, his whole life, he's committed to redeeming souls. And our mayor, Boston Mayor Martin Walsh, he's a recovering alcoholic, 25 years recovering. But still, he talks about recovery, he talks about bootstraps, you know, trying to make a difference in the neighborhoods. And I think both of those men convey to the have-nots. Boston is still class-driven. They're the haves, us, all of us. We're the ones who go to the museum. You know, we're the ones who pay full price for tickets. We're the ones, you know, who, you know, find something, you know, the first thing you say is somebody lose something. Well, that's not the way the have-nots are. And they certainly don't give up secrets in their lives about, you know, about crimes that may have happened. So how do you convince those people who may know little bits and pieces of this puzzle to pick up the phone and give it to them? I would put, again, O'Malley or Mayor Walsh in front of these paintings, and I'd have them say something like this. These paintings that are now missing and have been missing for 26 years were put on the wall for all of us. And they were. That's true. They're put on the wall for our grandparents and our parents to inspire them into art. And that they'd be missing for 26 years, it's a sin. It's a crime on our city. They were up there for us. And not just for the haves, but for the have-nots. Understand where the Michelangelos, Vermeer, Rembrandt, Van Gogh, they did not come from the bourgeoisie. They came from middle and underclass. It's your children, all of Boston, the have worlds and the have-not worlds. It's your children who need to be inspired by these paintings. So bring them back. We'll drive you to the museum. You'll get your $5 billion award. And Boston, again, can celebrate this jewel, these paintings of the ages, and get them back. And we won't have a duck boat parade, but I think it'll be a stirring recovery for the city. So I'll take any questions from you, but thank you very much for having me.
The fellow that came to you with the latest amount of information, where does he stand on all this?
This is the fellow who called up and told me about the motive. Well, he's convinced it's the 4-hour gang that it was Bobby Donati. Donati was assassinated a year later. 4-hour was still in jail. Donati was assassinated. He does not think he was assassinated because he hasn't been involved in the theft, but he's convinced he was. Oh, yeah?
Don't you, I think to appeal to the thieves that did this, I think maybe if you told them that they would be in a movie someplace or something like that, I think you have to appeal to their vanity, or I'm sure they want to.
I'm not sharing the spotlight.
Oh, I'm sure
I had to do it for the Spotlight movie. I'm not doing it.
But I'm sure that they want to tell somebody their story. I mean, what a
Unbelievable.
amazing thing. I can't believe that no one wants to at least say, I did it.
Yeah. I have not had anyone, except for the one man who called me on Ferrara, be effusive. It's all, by that, let me tell you the story of a lifetime. All of them want to give, that they have access to the information. But in order to open them up, they want 10,000. They want brother out of jail. This story is replete with con men and women. The feds haven't fallen for it. I fall for it every so often. In fact, I sit with them and talk to them. But it's very, very early you realize that they're just, everything they got, they've read out of the clips or read out of my book. So, I hear you on their vanities. I tell you, one of the women, Bobby Donati's sister, I said, I'll have Michelle Pfeiffer play you. You are a Michelle Pfeiffer look-alike. And she said, my brother did not do this. She's gonna miss it. Thank you.
Can you, the mayonnaise, why that was interesting?
Oh, yeah. It's a little complicated, but I'll tell you. Let's go back to it. Remember this, and remember the mayonnaise. This, little bit of background. The museum had in place and working that night a motion detector piece of equipment. And they had sensors throughout the museum. So because of those sensors and that piece of equipment, which worked that night, we know the path that the bad guys took. And they went, their footsteps are only seen in 2 rooms once they go upstairs into the 2nd floor. They're never seen on the 1st floor except to tie up the 2 guards. They're seen up on the 2nd floor. In this room back here is the Dutch room, and over here on the 2nd floor is the short gallery. And in the short gallery, they were going for really minuscule stuff. And everything was taken from those 2 rooms, except the Manet is taken from the blue room. Here. Why is that a problem? Because there are no footsteps of the bad guys in the blue room. There are footsteps, though, from the night watchman who did his first tour, the one who made the 2 grievous errors. So this is what I will tell to Rick because of your idea. How to get Rick, this is my total fantasy. Rick is a sharp kid, really sharp kid, and he had a little bit of an issue with the security chief. And the other thing is, before Rick took over the shift as the night watchman behind the desk, which is really the most only sensitive position. To be walking around the gallery doesn't do the bad guys any good. You have to have the guy behind the desk. So as the shifts unfold, Rick takes the first shift. When he takes over at midnight, he does the first patrol. And that's when his footsteps are seen in the Dutch room, in the blue room. So does the rest of his shift. He's about to take over the desk. But before he does, he opens this back door. Opens it and closes it. Now, those of you budding masterminds of thievery, what he's doing is he's telling the bad guys outside, I'm taking over the shift now. Come on in. Come on, ring the bell. It's about to begin. But this is really creative. Rick knows that he can't trust these guys. Maybe he got a marijuana, maybe he got cocaine, maybe they were going to share 10, they're going to give him $10 million. Maybe. I don't think, he in the back of his mind knew. He can't trust these guys. These are bad people. These are thugs. These are organized crime people. So he realizes, let them do their theft, but I cannot depend on them to give me a cut of the action. So this is what I think Rick, this is in this fantasy Rick does. Rick, in going around the museum on his first tour, he steals that mayonnaise. He grabs it. And when he opens the door back here at the end of the shift, he puts it outside. Not for the thieves, but his best friend comes and picks up the mayonnaise. So there are really 2 thefts that night. There are all the Rembrandts and the Vermeer, and there's Rick with the mayonnaise. If I was going to go with this story, if it shows up, you know I had to roll with the script. But But we're gonna have to change his name, because there's no proof of Rick doing this. And when I said this to Rick, I said, you open that door to alert the bad guys to come on in, start your thievery. He said, no, I did that every night I opened it, shut it. And I said, no one ever saw that, it's not in the transcript. He says, you just look at the tapes, you'll see that there was tape recordings of, they had 4 TV remote control, not remote control, closed circuit TV, TVs around the building, and they were all recorded. But the thieves stole the one for that night, the disc, the DVD. They stole the DVD that was of all the events that night. But when Rick said that to me, I put it in the paper in 2013. The Fed said, hey, wait a second. We've got the earlier night's DVDs. Let's take a look at them and test them. And they did, and they came up with this guy. Rick, they said, let in, oh, the other thing, this is the frame for the Man A. And where is it put? It's the only frame that's not where it was stolen. It is in the security chief's room on his desk. Now, if that's not thumbing your nose at the security chief, but Rick has passed lie detector test, so I can't put the cuffs on him yet. But the feds look at the previous night's tape. Remember, we had 318? Excuse me, this is 317. This is at 7 minutes before 1 on the night before. So this is just 24 hours before the robbery. What they came up with is this stranger, Rick lets this stranger into the feds call him stranger.